Hey everyone, you're listening to the Active Turnkey Podcast, a podcast designed for hands-off, passive real estate rental investors. In the Active Turnkey Podcast, you'll hear Tom Olson and Jared Stoutmeister discuss all things turnkey rentals with other turnkey providers, service providers, and rental investors. Our goal is to help you reach your financial freedom and whatever comes after that. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Active Turnkey Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Stoutmeister, and we have with us today the Tom Olson. We're back and we're ready to bring some more content.
Yes, so we are talking today. We were talking in different meetings and different groups and all over social media the last couple of weeks, and kind of came up with this topic today. So hopefully you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it strikes a nerve, and you learn something.
Yeah, I think that's the goal. Hopefully we're not here just talking and getting our makeup done for these podcasts and then just up here.
It took me a little extra time today to make sure I was all ready for this podcast today.
Tom's kind of a diva with the
absolutely, definitely
cosmetics and such.
Yeah, I just need to make sure I had a little extra blush.
Yeah,
and
I like to provide my own natural.
Yeah,
a little more natural look for me.
Yeah, if you guys are not watching us, I want to let you guys know we do broadcast on lots of different platforms on YouTube, Facebook, and all the podcast platforms. So whether you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or listening to us, watching us on YouTube, or seeing this on Facebook, however it is, if you want to jump over to some of the other mediums, you can.
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I know that these podcasts are well deserving of 5-star ratings.
Oh,
so,
of course.
I mean, go give us a couple thumbs up, give us a couple, comments, share this content with your friends.
Yeah.
And, do that.
Well, and I mean, I don't want to brag, but facts are facts. I mean,
exactly. I mean, that's exactly kind of what I was thinking, right?
I mean, it's great for audio, but if you really want to see some eye candy, this is the place to come.
I'm telling you what,
I
guys.
would say so.
And
again, I'm just stating facts as what I mean.
Yeah.
People, I get it all the time. I get it all the time.
Yeah.
And so again, this is not coming from me. So
yes, this is the best looking podcast you guys will
clearly
see out there.
No debate.
So hey, well, anyways, back to real estate. This is the Active Turnkey Podcast, where we talk about active turnkey. We talk about turnkey rentals. We talk about property management. We talk about all things rentals, basically.
Yeah.
From acquisition to selling to what time of what's the right part of the market. And it's kind of interesting, right? Whenever a speaker talks about the best time to buy real estate, Jared, what have you heard out there when was the best time to buy real estate?
Oh yeah, it would have been, what is it? Right after the recession,
right after a crash or something, right after the crash, right?
Well, what I always hear is of late. I shouldn't say of late. I would say, because it's not being said now. What I heard in 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, it was, they're all preparing for when the market does go down, because it's going to inevitably go down, and they're going to be ready the next time. That's what I always heard.
Be ready for the next time.
Right, because then they're going to gobble everything up.
You got it.
Everybody.
Yes, I mean, and we have been hearing since 2016 that the real estate market is going to crash.
Yep.
And it was going to happen in 2017, and then it was going to happen in 2018, and then everybody swore that it just was prolonged. It was going to happen in 2019, and then for sure in 2019, when it didn't happen, it was going to happen in 2020.
I didn't believe them in 17 or 18 or 19, but I started thinking these guys are smart.
At some point, the people that peddle the fear of everything that's going to happen, I mean, even a squirrel is right, once in a while, right? A broken clock is right twice.
A blind squirrel.
Finds a nut, every once in a while.
Yep.
So if you just keep saying that we're going to have a crash, inevitably, there has been 7 years in the last 100 where real estate has gone down. So you have a 7 out of a 100 chance that you could be a genius and you can tell everybody that I told you all way back then that real estate was going to crash. Sure. But facts are like funny things sometimes, and they're very stubborn. And we have only seen 7 years where real estate values have gone down in the last 100 years. So just think about that. The chances of real estate crashing are very, very, very minimal. Am I going to sit here and say it can't happen? It's impossible to happen? Absolutely not. But hey, like, I just want to throw that out there. But hey, that's what our podcast is about today, because it's new today. It's different today.
Sure.
The sky is falling. Right now, the sky is falling. Everybody is saying it.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it. And the sky is falling, guys. I hope you guys have been preparing since 2016.
Yeah.
Because now we are 9 years later, and the now is the time that the sky is falling.
I actually got a really good deal. I was talking to one of my neighbors, and they had a bunker full of stuff from Y2K. So I was able to get a bunch of that at like a deeply discounted. And so now I'm ready. I got a whole.
Jared has been holding on to that for 25 years.
I've been hoping this happens because what am I going to do with all this
MREs
stuff?
And I don't know. I'll tell you what.
It's great.
I'm sure you got a great deal.
I did
on that. But today, now the sky is falling.
People are running around the streets right now.
Exactly.
It's madness.
It's Armageddon.
It is.
The entire universe is in uproar.
Yeah.
All of the media is telling you that this is how you should think.
Sure.
And we had a couple rocky days in the stock market, right?
We did.
That never happens.
Oh no.
It never happens.
Right.
So I just want to let everybody know, hey, be on high alert right now because the sky is now falling right now. Have you heard about the tariffs, Jared?
I don't watch much news, but I've heard some things from people, tariffs.
Yeah, I could tell you don't watch news. You know why? Because you seem a little calm in the studio today.
I'm on some meds and things. And
okay.
I'm just
don't
kidding.
tell anybody about that.
I'm not on any meds.
All right.
It's a joke.
Yeah, he's not.
I shouldn't joke about that.
Yeah, probably
Maybe
not. But so anyways.
Take that out, Emmy.
So anyways, I digress here. But hey, so all this talk about tariffs that is going on right now, and the president this, the president that, and I supported him, but this is horrible. This is, the worst thing he could possibly do. And, there's talk about, these are going to eventually be inflationary, right? Because if we have to pay a tariff to, if we charge other countries tariffs for them to sell our goods to us here in the United States, then it's going to make the cost of our goods go up, right? Because they're going to have to charge more in order to make money.
Sure.
There's that argument, right? And there's the other argument on the other side that says, okay, this is going to force people to come back to the United States. It's going to possibly it might be deflationary because of issues like that. I think there's the other argument that maybe we get a little bit more of a level playing field, which helps our exports better. There is also talk, honestly, about, hey, like, do we realize that every other country in the entire world basically charges us a tariff and we don't charge these tariffs?
Right.
So I feel like there's also that out there as well, that if you're not at least considering that as, okay, like, and it's also interesting, people completely act like our president is a complete buffoon for asking for some types of tariffs.
Imagine.
And for having ego. I agree. I would agree with that. There's some ego maybe in part of this. I think people take that a little too far.
Well, I think we know that the presidents before him didn't have one.
Never. There's never had any ego in any presidency. But no, that's kind of where I'm going. Like, but nobody says anything about retaliation tariffs or other countries that kind of even have more ego. Sure. It's okay for them, but it's not okay for our president to, do things. So again, this is not a political. I'm not trying to make it political at all.
Was a political one.
It is not. So we're not doing political.
Right. Okay.
That's not the point. I'm just kind of giving different perspectives, right?
Sure. So
there's also the perspective of Orange Man is bad. That's out there, right? Anything that has to do with Orange Man, that's bad. So there's that going on, and so anything that our current president wants to do, you got that little sect of the media that just wants to kind of grab onto that.
Well, can I even say though?
Sure.
I don't truly. Tom mentioned it. I look calm, but in all reality, I really don't watch news. I don't. I just maybe I should. Maybe I'm ignorant, and it's very possible I am. However, from what I do know, last time I checked, I don't believe that there's anything Donald Trump could do that he could do that would be considered good by the left in any scenario.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So
By some people,
doesn't it make sense?
Absolutely, it doesn't matter what it is.
I mean, that these tariffs are going to be awful, and they're going to tell you how awful they're going to be because, again, it's just one more thing.
It's also very interesting that Nancy Pelosi, when she actually had some brain cells in her head left, in 1996, there is a video circulating right now that literally spells out really clearly, and she clearly articulated China and how China is stealing basically hundreds of billions of dollars from us every single year because of the tariffs that they're charging and we're not charging China. So, so it's interesting how,
change of heart.
I actually think it's funny because I think Trump is literally a 1990s Democrat. Like that's who he is. Through and through. He might have some conservative values, but at the end of the day, like his values are actually, pretty mainstream middle. But people just don't I think he's misunderstood. But again, I'm not trying to make this political at all. I really want to talk about, our investments, right? Because a lot of times when people hear all of these things, they get all riled up.
Sure.
And it's something that really, it bothers me. It bothers me that these daily pundits are out there on both sides. Absolutely, on both sides.
Sure.
And what are they doing? So Jared, let's just think about this. What are they doing from a scriptural standpoint? I know this podcast isn't a Bible podcast. I get it. If you know us at all, though, you know that we're Christians and we're not ashamed of that. Sure. And part of our values and the way we think and our ideology comes from a biblical standpoint of the world, right? So, like biblically, who is the media in the Bible?
Who's the media?
Yeah, like what does the media do? Like if you could say something that the media does, good or bad, what do they do in the Bible? What does the Bible say?
What does the Bible say? To me, it seems like they're stirring up fear.
Absolutely.
And getting people. It's news. First of all, it's news. So I mean, it's
sometimes it's news.
Well, I mean, no, it makes news. They're making news.
Ultimately. Yeah, they make up news. Yes,
there you go.
I agree.
They're making, but again, it's basically fear mongering.
It's fear mongering, which has a purpose, in my opinion. And this is kind of where I'm trying to go with this a little bit. But if there's any sect of people, if there's any little part of our universe and part of our daily lives that clearly depicts what the Bible says is sowing discord among the brethren, it is the media.
Yeah. Literally politicking.
They are politicking. They're trying to get people to disagree with people. And why? It's only for money for their own station so they can get more attention. It's all about attention. So if you look at the way that the media portrays anything in those lenses, I think it makes us stop and think, okay, what's really reality here? Yeah. Because I don't care which media source you listen to. It doesn't matter, left, right. It's true. I don't care. They're all doing the same thing. They're all just fear-mongering on one side or the other. It doesn't matter what it is. They're using the exact same tactics. And in my opinion, it's actually evil. It's not good. This is not being used for good. This is being used for evil and being used to keep people separated instead of uniting. We should be thinking about how can we be united? What are the things that we can agree upon? What are some things that we can do to move forward? And those are the things that I wish I would hear more media outlets talk about. Okay, let's talk about, I actually almost feel like some days we need a new party called the Common Sense Party or something. Something that you could just say, okay, let's just scratch everything and let's just start new when it comes to that. But hey, we've heard of the last couple of weeks, the stock market's going to crash. And you know what? I actually personally do believe the stock market is in a bubble. I do. Like if you look at what the fundamentals say of a company and what it should trade for, we're way out of whack. And every single time it gets out of whack, this is what, it does bust. But in my opinion, a stock market crash doesn't really mean an economic crash. As it correlates to real estate, a stock market crash does not always mean a real estate crash either. The cycles normally don't line up. It just so happened that the last major, bust, 2006, 2007, 2008-ish, housing caused the crash, which kind of then, kind of rolled everything into there. Also, interest rates, right? This year, I think we kind of thought that there was going to be a little bit more settling in and a little bit more, I actually thought that, I think the most people in the country, most real estate investors thought we were going to slowly just see our interest rates go down. It wasn't going to be like very volatile. And what has happened? So let's just be honest. I do understand that adding all this tariff talk and doing what they're doing is adding volatility. I do not want to discount that. That is an actual valid point. We are adding volatility to the market, which does add fear. I understand that it adds fear. So we've seen that. We've seen crashes and we've seen it come right back up. We've seen all that. The 10-year. So the 10-year bond, the 10-year treasury, people typically look at that and say, okay, let's look at this and see where interest rates are going to go from a mortgage standpoint. And there was a ton of talk when the tariff thing all kind of first started that, this is going to force everybody to put money into the 10-year. And then all of a sudden, like a bunch of people wanted to sell their bonds, and then it ended up kind of pushing it up a little bit. And for a day, it was like the end of the world, and it was Armageddon again. Even though, if people want to be honest about it, our 10-year never got really overheated. It had a couple days where it went up, but if you compare it to even like 2 years ago, like it was higher 2 years ago than it is today. So like this is. So we're trying to talk about these things. We don't really talk a lot about this on our podcast, but I kind of felt like in today's world, it was really important to kind of
relevant.
At least be relevant, and at least kind of like throw this out there and say, hey, is the market going to crash? I don't know. I really can't tell you the future. But when you hear these talks, when you hear people speaking like this, just be careful. Back up. Let's think about what really is. What is reality today versus what we fear reality to be in the future? Our feelings, our fears, our worries are not good barometers. They're not good things to use on what we should do. And then I think also, I kind of had to remind myself of this a couple of weeks ago. Nobody cares about your opinion on some of this stuff. Like, really, nobody cares about it. And nobody cares about mine. And it's okay. Like, it's if you have an opinion, I think it's important to read and to understand a situation. But stop and think about it, digest it. Think about what's really factual and what's just fear-mongering. And understand you're not going to change somebody else's mind. It doesn't really matter. And really, if the way I look at it too, like, in 5 or 10 years from today, what's happening right now probably isn't going to matter. My opinion, again, I said nobody cares about my opinion, but I'm still going to give my opinion here because it's our podcast, right? But my opinion is this will blow over. Like, this is not something new. It's not like this has never happened and nobody's ever added tariffs to somebody. This is something that just happens. And we have to just face it of what is today. Like, what is it today? I even had a text this morning. I was talking to one of my nephews, and he was all worried, saying, we need to buy this before, the tariffs go up. Just last week, I had one of my loan officers call me. You need to lock in the rates today because they're going to go up next week. And it's interesting because since that point in time, it like, yes, they bumped up on Monday, like they said, but the 10-year's gone down. So the 10-year went down a couple points. Like it's something that fluctuates. The stock market 10-year rates, they don't do this. It is like this. It's up and down. It's up and down. It's up and down. And just as easily as it could go up, it could go down the next week. So, and that's what volatility is, folks. Volatility isn't just straight up and straight down. Volatility is like up and down, up and down, up and down.
Consistently inconsistent.
Consistently inconsistent. So I just kind of wanted to have a podcast, throw that out there, put a level head to this. The worst thing, back to the question about when was the best time to buy real estate. normally people say in a big setting, the best time to buy real estate was 20 years ago. Okay. The next second best time is today. It doesn't matter which year. I don't care what year you pick in history.
Sure.
If you go 20 years ahead of time, real estate's still up. Yeah. There's not a single 20-year period of time where it doesn't matter which years are up, which years are down. Now, you cannot say that about some of the other sectors. There's some other sectors that are not 100% like that.
So Tom, thinking that way, you said when is the best time to buy? Mm-hmm. What were people saying in those days that we're saying was the best time? Were people recommending people to buy then?
Typically, and that's the thing. When so many people are saying it's bad, it's fearful, right? Mm-hmm. Like even Warren Buffett says, when everybody else is fearful, this is the time to get greedy. When everybody else is greedy, this is the time to get fearful. I don't like greed or fear.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to stay in the middle on
Sure.
all of these things. Don't get too exuberant on one side of the market. Don't get too exuberant on the other side of the market or fearful. But you know, that creates opportunity for you to be able to buy if we have a downturn, or if we have people that lose jobs, if the unemployment goes up. Mm-hmm. That's definitely an opportunity. But understand, at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily mean that the prices of real estate is going to go down. Does it mean that there may be less buyers? Does it mean that the supply and demand gets out of whack? Possibly. But it doesn't mean that people, I think, are waiting for 2008 to happen all over again. And I'm here to tell you it's not going to happen. 2008 is not going to happen right now. And it's interesting because a lot of people my age and maybe in the next 10 years, but between 45 and 55, though, that's the most exuberant crowd of people that are saying what you said at the beginning of the podcast. I'm waiting for the next crash and I'm just going to snatch up all those properties.
Right.
It's not going to happen that way. And the reason why it happened so bad in 2008 was because real estate was what caused the market crash. Real estate today wouldn't cause the market crash. It would be something else that causes the market crash. And again, does that mean we can't have a down year? Absolutely not. There's probably been a couple. I know that there's probably been some areas of the country that have had a little bit of a dip or had a little bit of a definitely softening over the last couple of years. But to think that real estate prices are going to go down, in my opinion, you're playing a fool's game. You're literally playing roulette and hoping that you land on black or you land on the one. You know, it's not even black and red. I wish I could even, say it's black and red. It's not. It's like I got one number and it's 1 out of 100 numbers, and I'm gonna put it all here, and I'm putting all my eggs in this basket because I know one of these years, I'm gonna spin my number.
Well, that's kind of the direction I was headed. So people were saying, hey, when's the best time to buy? But were people buying then? Probably not, right? If that was the best time. Just like today, people are saying it's not a great time to buy. Again, properties on the market, they're available. I think right now you probably have more negotiation opportunities than you did a couple years ago when everything was going crazy above list. Now you don't have that. You have a lot more flexibility as far as making offers. I think it seems to me, Tom, that right now the biggest issue is the interest rate. Mm-hmm. But we're assuming that once the interest rate goes down, that now we'll be able to jump back in and get a bunch of deals. But it's what you just said a second ago. The prices are going to go up at that point. So now your interest rates are down, but now you're paying more. So the question is then, when is the better time to buy again? And when there's less people buying, it seems like right now is a great opportunity to buy. Your interest rates are a little bit higher right now, but you're paying less than you will down the road. And again, sometimes in those when the market goes up, like today's inventory is probably higher than we're used to, but when the market goes up, now inventory is an issue again. We had that issue with many of our clients finding deals. Mm-hmm. Well, right now they're available, but we're not pulling the trigger on them. And then later what's going to happen, right? When interest rates go down, buyers are going to come back in the market, and now you're going to be paying more again. Mm-hmm. And so like really thinking through, not necessarily we're not saying that you need to go buy 20 deals if you're used to buying 1 or 2, but maybe you just kind of slowly do a deal and then refinance. That's my strategy at this point. I'm not going crazy. Make sure my deals are good. Mm-hmm. Make sure they're sound. Make sure they're cash flowing. But at that point, though, I feel like right now I have a good opportunity to acquire.
Yeah, and the purpose for me bringing this podcast to you today is not to tell you that you need to buy right now.
Yeah,
It's not.
true.
I do think when times are more volatile, you should have more cash in the bank. I believe that. I really do. I think your cash positions do need to raise. I also think it's a time to be a little bit more scrutiny on a deal. Make sure it works for today's numbers. And that's where I'm trying to say. That's where I'm kind of trying to go with this. Like, if it works in today's numbers, then hey, let's keep moving slow. This, in my opinion, this is not the year to like double down and triple down and quadruple and like you said, go from 4 buys to 20.
Right.
Maybe this isn't that year. Maybe this, and it could be the year to go from 20 buys to 4. So I do think it is wise to, at some points, especially when we have more volatility like we have right now, to take more chips off the table, to have a stronger cash position, to maybe allocate more of your portfolio to things like precious metals. Honestly, we've seen a massive rise, 30% in precious metals over the last couple of years. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with this. But what the last thing, I think the worst thing you can do is panic. And that's kind of where I wanted to end up and kind of wanted to land here is the worst mistake I have seen investors make over the last 25, 30 years of me being in this business, Jared, has been fire sailing. Has been saying, I need to get out as fast as I can. Like I've never seen anybody win. Never. I've never seen anybody win. But I've seen people win that just put their nose to the grind. They just put their head down. They continue. They face where they're at today, whatever it is, fix the problems, stay in the lane. Stay the course. Don't panic. Have a level head. Back away from the media. Don't watch your portfolio every single day. Don't listen to all of the news media outlets every single day. Don't look at your stock portfolio every single day. It's kind of one good thing about having rentals is like I only need to check one time a month to see if they made their payment. And just look at what the real numbers are. That's the best way, the best thing that I can say. Is inventory up in some areas? Yes. Is it up? And I think you should be looking, okay, where's inventory at today versus 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008? And there are some areas of the country where they're high. Again, they're back to 2006 levels. But there's other areas of the country they're not. They're still super depressed and super low. Especially some of the markets in Florida. We're seeing Texas. We're seeing some markets that are much slower, much higher days on market. And then even in pockets, you're going to see some cities that are much higher. Some of that is because of the activity in those cities, and some of that is just because houses are sitting longer. Know what it is that you need to do. Know if you're going to buy a rental, what do you need to do in order to make that house rent? If you're going to flip a house, know what it is. You might have to do something different than what you've done. So make sure that you're pivot if you need to pivot. Stay in a high. I do think that you should have more cash, when it's more volatile, but please, please, please don't panic. Okay. The sky is literally not falling. I know we said that at the beginning of this podcast, but it's literally not falling. We will get through this. And if you ask me again, I know I'm giving opinion here, but it's our podcast. So we get to give our opinion.
That's right.
And I personally think we're asking for better negotiation is what we were asking for. We're asking for better deals in the whole tariff, discussion. When it comes to all that, we're just asking for other countries to give us a better deal. And we're hoping that all the countries come to the table. And will all countries do it? Probably not. But I think many of them will. And we will end up with at least, this is what I have to say. Will we end up with a better result? Maybe. Will we end up with a worse result? There's a possibility, I guess. Sure. But in my opinion, we will more than likely end up at least as good as we had before.
Well, I mean, don't we do this in our every day in our lives and as businesses? Don't we always negotiate? Don't we always look for better for more opportunities? Do we always pay the price every time, no matter what? Do we come to the table? Do we look to find cheaper options? Don't we do this?
Absolutely.
So why wouldn't we expect our government to do that? It'd actually be a good thing,
and it
right?
might take time, and it may be some short-term pain, but I would just always rather choose short-term pain. I mean, the problem is for the last 50 years, we have chosen short-term gain for long-term sacrifice. And we may need to choose short-term pain for long-term gain. And again, like I'm really not trying to make this political, I promise you. But at the end of the day, again, as a Christian, I believe God's in control and everything is going to work its way out at some point. And if we believe that, it should help us. It should help us make decisions. It should help us have discernment. It should help us not let fear overtake us. And the way to do that is to do what I've said. Don't panic, face it, whatever, know what the real numbers are, and just kind of remind yourself, fear is not my God. Fear is not my barometer. I don't use fear as the way I make decisions. And be careful about trusting the daily news sources. Because today it can be up, tomorrow it can be down. And at the end of the day, I believe there's a lot of fear in the market of something that's never going to happen.
Sure. Well, I mean, you mentioned before that, nobody cares about opinions, and I think I know what you're saying there, but we do trust certain people. I mean, we ask, like for me, if I ask Tom specific questions, if I'm asking for help, in that case, I want to know what you're thinking. And the problem is, I think in many cases, we're probably listening to people we shouldn't be listening to. You'd be very careful across the board in life. It's just amazing how many people, if people are really eager to get message out about things. I just really want to be careful with who I'm listening to, who I'm putting my trust in. But Tom mentioned it. We don't want to panic. But of all people, this isn't a political podcast. This isn't a spiritual or religious podcast. However, as a believer, of all people, we should be the ones not panicking. We understand, like you said, God's in control. So of all people, we should be like, okay, let's calm down. Let's be a little rational, and see what we can do here.
So just final wrap up here, hey, what should I be doing then? Okay. It's stay the course. And in order to stay the course, you have to know what the course is first. So if you don't have written goals, this is a time to get back out. Sure. Pull your goals back out right now and remind yourself, hey, this is where I want to be in 5-10 years, whatever that is. Write those goals down and ask yourself, hey, am I on track? Maybe you wrote these goals down a couple of years ago and you're not on track right now. Maybe you are. But whatever it is, get back on track. Do whatever you need to do. Write down what you need to get done this year. Write down what you need to do this month. Write down what you need to do today. And that, I think, if you just stay in that lane, if you just continue to reach towards your goals and keep working towards those goals, a lot of this is just smoke. It's just dust, and it will settle at some point. We've seen this through history, guys. This is nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. And at the end of the day, all we can focus on is what we can control. Yep. And we can control our emotions. We can control what sources we listen to. Yeah. We can control who influences us. We can control all of that. So I hope this podcast finds you well. I hope this gives you a little bit of a calm in what the rest of the world seems to act like we're in this tither and this storm right now. I personally believe it is not much of anything today. Could it turn into something? Absolutely. Could it be, disastrous? Maybe. Could it be helpful for us? Maybe. At the end of the day, I have seen it just comes back. Everything comes back. It's just a pendulum. Things come back and forth. And as a believer, it's great to know that there's somebody else that's in control and we can trust.
Well, just to add one more thing, Tom, you mentioned 7 times in the last 100 years, 7 years we've seen the house. How do you put
housing prices go down?
Housing prices go down. Okay, so let's say that happened this year. All that means is that, hey, we just got to wait out a couple. We just got to hang on with what you're saying. Just hang on, because we understand that 93 times out of 100, 93% of the time, we know that it went up. And so that it just adds more validity to what you're saying. Just stay the course, hang on, Frankly, I think it seems like this might be a case, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but you'd be more disappointed, not that you didn't buy, but that you sold it all.
Absolutely. I think that's a worse mistake. So I do believe that people that are completely putting all of their funds on the sidelines and going to 100% to cash, I actually believe that's a mistake. I do believe the bigger mistake, though, is sometimes how people get to all cash. And they sell in a panic. They sell when the market's down. They sell when fear is in the streets. Like, that is the worst thing you can possibly do. So many people I know that let's go back to 2007, 2008, 2009. There's some people I know that sold in a panic back then, that if they just would have held on for a couple of years, their complete economic, financial situation of their entire life would have been different if they just would have just gone through it. We're so eager and so especially as Americans, we do not like tough times. We don't like taking the tough choice. We like to take we like the easy button. We like to press the easy button, and anything that we can make our life easier, we think that's the right choice, because it's easier for us, and it will bring us more pleasure and maybe less work and maybe less hard things to do. And I just encourage you to not always take that. That's not always the right choice.
Right.
We think about it with our kids, even. Like, sometimes the best thing you have to do for your kid is to discipline them. It is the worst thing in the world. You hate to do it.
Yeah.
You hate to, correct your kid, but it's the hard choices in life. It's the discipline, waking up in the morning and going to the gym. Like, think about it. Like, who really wants to do that? Not very many people. Yeah. But that's what get you the result that you want.
I said there's one more thing, but as you were talking, there's
one more thing.
I would push you or urge you to get a lot of counsel. So when you're emotional, you're not thinking logically, and you're gonna respond in ways you may not have done. And so I think when you're making decisions, like in this case, like to what would we say, deploy or what would we say, not divest, more or less, what you have, you may want to ask a few people, hey, this is what I got going on. What do you think? And you don't have to take their advice. You need to hear it, because they're not in your situation. They may be thinking a little more, not just without emotion.
But just be careful who you're getting advice from.
That's true.
Make sure it's somebody who is really a subject matter expert.
That's a good point.
And really has gone through through some times, because the worst thing you can do is just go talk to everybody else who's emotional as
peers,
well.
More peers than.
And if there's somebody spouting their mouth off, I don't even care what side of the aisle it is. It doesn't matter. Like, that's not the right person. Like, I'm wanting to get advice from somebody who just can see it the way it is. And like I said, does that mean that our underwriting guidelines should go down? No. Like, our underwriting guidelines probably should be a little bit stricter right now. I'm okay with that as a way to help reduce risk, because that's what we're doing. We're more volatile. Okay, so if things are more volatile, we need to underwrite and a little bit of a maybe a little bit firmer. And because less things can go wrong in order for it to work today, right? Because if the margins are a little bit slimmer, more underwriting has to go, more guidelines and more thinking about, hey, what could go wrong needs to be brought into that equation. But it doesn't mean that we just completely stop doing what we're doing.
Well, and just a little addition here. In recent deals, we've had guys we've had more Burr Active Turnkey deals lately on our team. So between our own flips internally, our turnkey sales, and our Active Turnkey sales, we're not seeing issues in appraisals.
Not at all. No,
none.
It's
in
interesting.
fact, we're seeing
the markets.
higher.
We are still seeing the markets raise up. They're still going up.
In fact, this podcast will come out a week after that. We had two different guys who had we projected them a little bit lower conservatively, and they came in significantly higher. We just got another one just this week from a guy where we were thinking we were happy for him to get maybe a 200, approaching 200 because of square feet and everything. It came in over 260. And I mean, an insane appraisal. I mean, the point being, lenders are still they are The underwriting process is getting more firm for sure, but that's not what we're seeing in the actual appraisals. The same guy who gave that really good appraisal said I'm booked, Jared. He's like, we had to go a week and a half out to schedule. That's not where it was a few months ago, where they could go out next day. I mean, that's what we're actually seeing, more deals come in. So that's, again, all the more reason to like calm down. This is spring. Let's see what happens before we go crazy.
So again, the sky is not falling.
not what our podcast title said.
We will get through this. And whatever happens, good or bad, we will get through it. All you can do is control what you can control today. And whatever that is, everything else you don't really need to worry about, but you can control what you can control. You can decide what your process is, what your buying criteria looks like. And we're here to help as much as we possibly can. Hopefully this podcast gives you a better outlook maybe on where things are at right now. Sorry if we got a little political on you. Not trying to be. I really do try to stay in the middle on as many things as I possibly can. I try to look at both sides of everything for all that, Bo. But hopefully this finds you good today, and you guys have a good day today. But
yeah, so just a couple things. First of all, we do have an event here coming up at the office. Yep. And so that's what, September 4th?
4, 5, and 6.
And that's right. And that's the what's the stats on that? What's the details?
So Gary Dealmaker, and we right now early bird pricing. When you guys first get this podcast, early bird pricing is still out. It's $3.99 for the 3 days. That does include 3 meals. That includes a bunch of extras that people are going to get on top of that. You can go to the website goodsuccess.com and find out more information about that. I believe it's $3.99 today for 1 ticket, or $5.99 if there's 2 people. So you get a little discount with a second person. But I know June 1st. So June 1st, prices are going to be going up $100 on those. So it'll be $4.99 and probably $6.99 for that come June. So get your tickets. Mm-hmm. This will sell out. I don't know exactly when it will sell out. It's September. Mm-hmm. Normally a lot of tickets come in like the last 2 months, but we're starting to see ticket sales right now. And if you want to get in on it and you want to be able to be one of the 120-ish people that we have room for here, get signed up as soon as you can.
Also, just remember that we do build rental portfolios for investors. If after hearing this news, you're today, our podcast day, you're like, okay, I feel okay with moving forward. I think I may be overreacting or whatever. But if you're looking to jump in and get started, or you're looking to add a new market to your portfolio, to build your portfolio, or you just want to add another deal, you can find us here. You can go to our website. You can go to onegroupnetwork.com, join our buyers list. You can get all our deals. You also get podcast notifications and other information that we get. You can also reach out to me, Jared, JARROD, at buyonegroup.com, and I can work with you on getting you on the list. I can also, if you want to come to Gary, you've never been here, I can show you our market, show you what we're doing here, what we're trying to accomplish, and we can help you as you're trying to build your portfolio.
Yeah, so get on the list. One thing I was going to say, if you get on Jared's list, you get a couple things. So first of all, we do send out some educational things. You can get on that to learn about some of the things. Our podcasts go out that way as well. But I think it's good to look at what's available today. So even if you're not in the market today to buy, I think it's good to get on the list and see what's available, see what we're selling, see what the price points are, how much are the rents. It's interesting to me, Jared, like I speak around the country about once or twice a month. And when I tell people the numbers that we're giving people through our active turnkey and turnkeys, they were like, I'd buy that all day long. I didn't even know that you did that, Tom. So I'm trying to do a better job telling people what I do in the other platforms, because I don't talk about this a lot. When I'm out and speaking, a lot of people are asking me to speak about different things, with the different companies that we have. But we do build rental portfolios for investors. Right. We've been doing it for many, many years. I believe that the services and the value that we bring is really a lot of value. I really do believe that we bring a lot of value. I also know that a lot of turnkey providers get a bad rap. I also understand that property managers get a bad rap from time to time. Sure. I don't understand it. I just think you got to find a good one and find somebody that you work with. And we hope that we can be that way. So we do build, we help you get to the point where it's all full. And we also have a property management company here that manages for you long-term. And we really try to do the best we possibly can. The one thing I can promise is that we will not be perfect, but I can also promise you that we will try dead level best to do the best that we possibly can for you and try to make your property perform better than you could if you were doing it yourself. Like, we have a lot of experience. We have a lot of systems and a lot of processes, and we kind of know the market really, really well. We have contractors already, lined up. We've got things already in place to be able to help and add value to you guys. So if you guys are interested in that, please go over to onegroupnetwork.com. If you're interested in the event, www.goodsuccess.com will get you that.
Well, we really appreciate you being with us today, joining us. Active Turnkey,
the best way to buy rentals. God bless.
One Group Network makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, One Group Network does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. Any third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions, standards, or policy of One Group Network. One Group Network assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in the third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with applicable laws of such materials and or links referenced herein.